I forgot to mention that I'm not doing Southbound, their weird little covers album in which they cover their own songs with other artists. I'm going to drop that review in a separate video and include it in my covers album series. So that will not be included in these post 80s studio Doobie Brothers albums for you hardcore Doobie Brothers fans who know what I'm talking about. Anyways, on to this video. What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing and finishing my deep dive into the Doobie Brothers studio albums. I already did the 70s, and now I'm going to do everything from the 80s all the way until like a couple weeks ago when they dropped a fantastic new album here in 2025 that sounds like old school Doobies. Connection to Frank Zappa, Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy. They make a listen to the music reference. There's that. There's the Zappa connection. Also, I will say this about the Doobie Brothers. I don't listen to the Doobie Brothers much. If I do listen to the Doobie Brothers, I'm going back and listening to the 70s stuff. I was literally raised on that. Both of my parents were huge Doobie Brothers fans. One of my first memories of being alone and babysitting my sister was when my mother went to see the farewell tour back in 81 or 82. I think it was at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles is where she saw them. I remember staying home alone and listening to all of her Doobie Brothers albums as I imagined what it was like to go see them live. So I have a love for 70s. And I will say this, I think that the one thing about the Doobie Brothers is you go through this, they kind of were searching for an identity for a while, the first two albums I'm going to talk about. And then they kind of just realized that the band they were in the 70s is the best version of that band. And this kind of reminds me of the recent Styx album, which I'm also going to review in a couple days, in that they're not cutting any new ground. They're not doing anything experimental. They're just really comfortable music. If you love the Doobies in the 70s, at this point in time, you probably like what they're doing. It's sort of adult contemporary rock that has this sort of, Southern edge, this Americana edge, this, whatever the Doobies vibe is, that sort of mixing of genres edge. But they're definitely not breaking new ground. It's comforting music when it's at its best. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to do the 7 albums that are in this era. And then at the end, I'll put the list up of all of them, how they rank the entire catalog. So let's get on to, we're going to do 2 of them for the first one. Let's get on to number 7 and number 6. That would be these 2. At number 7, we have their 1989 album, Cycles. And at number 6, their 1991 album, Brotherhood. I think these are kind of similar. They definitely represent this sort of island of time in the Doobie Brothers' career. They broke up in 80. The last 80 album was a very Michael McDonald affair for both good and bad. Then they took a break. They dropped these 2 albums in 89 and 91, then wouldn't drop another album until 2000. So interesting little, and that was kind of their MO, pretty much. Make an album, take a break, make a couple albums, take a break. But this really sounds like, the sound on the Cycles is horrible. Very 80s. The drums sound absolutely horrible. The last album I ever bought from them was the one previous to Cycles. When I heard they had a big song called The Doctor that was kind of like, I think they made a video for it. It was kind of the hit. Just didn't really like it. Kind of maybe going for like going for a rocker trying to grow vibe, but it just didn't work. And I think both of these albums, it's almost like they're trying to just be this really radio-friendly pop rock outfit, a little Bad Company-ish, a little harder, Foreigner-ish, not doing the ballady stuff. They're both really busy, kind of overproduced albums in which it just seems like there's way too much going on. And I don't think either one of them really are really all that memorable and are really anything other than you hear it on the radio, you might turn the station, you might keep it on because it's not that offensive. Cycles is easily the worst of the 2. We just got a lot going on. Song called Take Me to the Highway. Like, if I tell you a song's called Take Me to the Highway, personally, I have like a dozen different ideas in my head of what this song's going to sound like. This sounds nothing like what any sort of highway song has ever sound like, and not in a good way. Song called South of the Border kind of has a good vibe to it, but the sound, just the production of it is horrible. Cycles is just a really, really, rough album to listen to if you sort of had that, like, I cannot stand the 80s sound. Brotherhood is a little bit better. It has a song on it called Dangerous, which starts off with this awesome acoustic 70s vibe that takes you back to what the Doobies were doing like a decade and a half earlier. But then it goes into this sort of electric rock thing with like these synth horse sounds that, all right, the energy's good, but again, we're still mired in this bad production. Brotherhood has a song called Divided Highway, which is pretty good. Nice opening riff, a little shredding guitar action. This Train I'm On has kind of a Allman Brothers revival-esque kind of funky little vibe. Super cheesy, but it kind of works. There's some good guitar on some of this. The closing song on Brotherhood, Rolling On, kind of sounds like Listen to the Music. I think they're starting to understand, like, all right, maybe we can echo some of our earlier stuff and be successful. There's sort of a Steve Winwood 80s adult rock vibe to Brotherhood. But both of these albums, I think, are just, they're trying to make a comeback. They had a big hit. They probably toured and did really well at this point. But I just don't think either one of these albums represent the best of the Doobies. And it just kind of, they've lost that sort of subgenre blending that made them super interesting in the 70s. And this is just probably the two most generic things they did. But that would be my number 7 and 6. Cycles at 7, Brotherhood at 6. At number 5, we have their 15th official release, 2022's Liberté, which is just a really safe, comfortable, kind of no-risk taking Doobie Brothers album. There are parts of this that kind of sound like earlier Doobie Brothers. Again, they dip into that listen to the music acoustic vibe successfully, but still it's nothing new. It's just comforting and familiar. Some of this kind of sounds like some Bruce Hornsby contemporary stuff, like piano-driven rock, a little bit of bounce, but not much edge. Some nice slide guitar work in here. The opening song, Oh Mexico, just really nice, safe, upbeat acoustic rock. The guitar playing's pretty interesting. The vocals are usually pretty interesting. There's nothing really bad on here, but there's also nothing that really is all that fantastic or playlist worthy. Couple pretty interesting songs. The second song, Better Day, has that Bruce Hornsby kind of momentum. Even flirts with like an adult rock version of like a War on Drugs with that kind of slightly almost motoric type beat where you just have that, you feel like motion is happening at all points and you're moving forward. It's kind of cool. There's another song called Just Can't Do This Alone, which just has a really nice, catchy pop rock vibe that if radio was still a thing and they were playing new artists on the radio, this is a song you might hear on the radio. Some good stuff on this album, but none of it is really, I mean, this could have been released in like, if you had recorded these songs in the 70s, it would have fit in right in with the 70s. It's just really safe Doobie Brothers adult rock. That would be my number 5. Liberté came out in 2022. And then we go all the way back for my number 4, back to 1980. The last of the Michael McDonald before he would take a break, before he would come back for the most recent album. We have One Step Closer. And despite being released in 1980, I think like it was towards the end of 1980, this sounds like we are fully submerged in the 1980 production nightmare. Synth sounds just, it sounds so 80s. And as I've said many, many times, I have a hard time with that. Like, this is the album that I gave up on listening to the Doobies. It was just, the Michael McDonald-ness of it all is maybe a little too much. His songwriting isn't as incredibly hit it out of the ballpark as on Minute by Minute. So you're just getting a lot of that Michael McDonald blue-eyed soul, but it's safer. And it's just the melodies are weaker. It sounds really 80s. There is one fantastic song in Real Love, which was kind of a hit. Got a lot of synth pop rocks, a lot of mid-tempo-y stuff. There is an interesting little song called Thank You, Love, which has like a Santana, meets jazz, meets synth pop. It's kind of weird. It's kind of soulful. It's a little bit interesting. It's marimba solo, straight up flirting with the Carlos Santana secret chord progression in the groove. Interesting little Steely Dan vibes in the jazziness. Weird little interesting song. but there's also some bad saxophone on here. There's a song called Keep This Train a Rollin', which is just songs about train and traveling and roads should have a certain vibe. This one doesn't match the vibe, the title of this. Just in Time has sort of an 80s pop police vibe. There is a song called South Bay Strut, which is this like jazzy instrumental, but it's kind of led by a sax. It's kind of a new wave jazzy jam. They're still trying to be the interesting mix it up type of Doobie Brothers of the 70s. There's just a little too much Michael McDonald in there. The production is weak. The synthiness of it all is hard to listen to. It is this is sort of the end of the incredible run that was the 70s. We hit the 80s. After this, they would do their farewell tour in 81, and then they wouldn't make another album until 89. But yeah, that would be my number 4. One in this decade, in this era from the 80s on. They're 80, their 9th official one step closer. Number 3 is Sibling Rivalry, which came out in 2000. Their 12th official album, this weird little album. They put out one in 91, dropped this in 2000, wouldn't drop another studio album until 2010. Just this weird little, hey, let's get together and make an album. Kind of a different vibe. It's a little softer, more adult rocky, but there's still a warm, comfortable sense of what the Doobies are on here. Not really any songs that are absolutely must playlist, but I also don't think there's anything too bad sounding on here. There's a lot of potential, I think, on a lot of these songs. It's just got really good, comfortable Doobie Brothers vibes. And the ones lower on this list just have bad moments or production issues that are just, where this one, it's just a comfortable listen. Opens up with People Gotta Love Again, which kind of shows you the mindset, the sort of positive optimism that they've always preached. Very bouncy acoustic pop, full band rock. Couple really good songs, Leave My Heartache Behind, which has this sort of Doobie Southern country rock flavor. Song called Jericho, which has this really nice percussion. It's low-key funky. It's got some like nice organ sounds in it. Angels of Madness, chill ballad with some really nice tasty guitar in there. Probably the best song on here is called Higher Ground, which is just like almost flirts with an Allman Brothers band type vibe, sort of this mid-tempo, bluesy southern rock number that's actually really good. Another song called Gates of Eden, which has this really nice kind of chill groove to it. I just think the vibes are kind of good, and the overall feel of the album is just comforting. I don't know if any of the songs, like I said, are absolutely like, oh my goodness, you must hear this song. But I also don't think there's anything like too bad or cringy or just production-wise that I'm like, okay, I can't listen to this. So it's just a solid, good vibe album. That would be my number 3, Sibling Rivalry. My number 2 would be the one that they did after this, 10 years later, World Gone Crazy, which just sounds like the band is having a good time. Sounds like they're having fun making music. They've realized that they are at their best when they're doing the sort of 70s thing, and they got the acoustic energy and the electric guitar, and they're dipping into different like subgenres of rock. The instruments sound good. It sounds like a band having a good time. And there's a lot more acoustic guitar energy that gives it that sort of Doobie Brothers rustic kind of energy that I think makes some of their 70s stuff thrive or shine or whatever word I want to put there. Opens up with A Brighter Day, which does have like a Steve Winwood synthy vibe, like that Steve Winwood sort of adult rock vibe. But that's very much what they are now. They're settling into their older age and they're making rock for adults who don't want to bang their heads or never, have outgrown any punk or metal tendencies that they might have. Some solid songs on here. Nice song called Nobody, which is like a nice bluesy instrumental opening that drops into a very 70s worthy groove. Don't Say Goodbye. Features Michael McDonald on here. Nice chill acoustic. There's a slight Latin flavor in there. Michael's just doing the backing vocals, but you can hear Michael McDonald on here. There's some nice Stevie Wonder type harmonica. Pretty good little song. Nice long sort of jamming harmonica solo on here. I Know We Won features Willie Nelson. Nice, soft, acoustic, folky, country, very 70s vibe. It's not the strongest song on here, but I think the overall vibe of the song is really good. Willie is just singing backing vocals. I think he might get like a line or two in a verse, but it's interesting they hype these guest stars and they're really not front and center. They're just kind of supporting roles. Law Dogs, the last song is bluesy, rougher acoustic guitar type thing. Just some really good, comfortable music that sounds like a band's having a good time. Like, yeah, I understand the attraction for something like this. But my favorite album of this era came out a month ago in 2025. It is Walk This Road. It's got Johnston, it's got Simmons, it's got McPhee, and Michael McDonald is back. And when he sings for the first time, what is it? I think it's on a song called Learn to Let Go. I think that's the first one he gets, which is the fourth song. You're like, oh my goodness, Michael is back and Michael sounds good. And I did not know Michael McDonald was on this album when I first listened to it. And the first three songs are actually really, really strong songs. And they're very 70s Doobie songs. Walk This Road with Mavis Staples. Mavis Staples actually sings. I think she gets an entire verse. This is very much the Doobie Brothers as adult, bluesy, slide guitar infused rockers. It's got some horns. It's got some swagger. Like, I kept imagining going to like a local like blues bar, like some tavern, and this is a local band, and like I'm gonna have the time of my life seeing this band. The energy is good. Like the lead singer, you can just see him on acoustic guitar, and like the slide guitar players in the back just dropping fills the whole time. There's a loose, older hippie jam band vibe to some of this, but that 70s Doobies vibe. It's that 70s Doobies vibe. Very barefoot. I wrote eco barefoot music on this opening Walk This Road. Really strong start. Second song, Angels and Mercy. Nice, like fun bar band energy with some drive-in acoustic, like full band energy. Call Me. The third song's okay. It's got some horns, mid-tempo stuff. But then we get Learn to Let Go. We're in like 70s Michael McDonald soft rock vibe, but it fits perfectly well with the opening songs. And having it drop, like not being one of the opening tracks, but having us get it as we're already like 3 songs into the album, I think helps the flow of the album immensely. Michael would return a couple more times. And there's just a number of really good songs on here. State of Grace, like a ballad that's okay. Here to Stay has this really nice a cappella opening. We go into a heavier guitar track about horses and rock and roll, some like dual guitar energy, just some really good rock energy. The Kind to Last, is that what it's called? I'm really bad with writing down these song titles. Kind of funky. It's a Michael number. Almost seems like Little Feat light. Like Little Feat could have dropped this. Even if they had dropped this in the 80s, it might have been funkier. If they had dropped it in the 70s, it would have been weirder. But it's of that Little Feat template. New Orleans, straight up flirts with a Creedence Clearwater Revival Bayou sound. The song is about New Orleans. It musically works. The vibe is amazing. We got some great guitar. We got some great accordion. Some nice extended guitar energy at the end of this. A song called Speed of Pain. I was thinking as I was listening to this album is what makes it work is they're fully immersed in their 70s sound and they're not trying to drop bars. They're not trying to flirt with hip hop or techno. We get to Speed of Pain and you got this low-key drum machine that's working, but I'm like, okay, this works. They had drum machines back then. Almost reminds me of the Matt's Willpower in the way like the drum machine is just there to sort of contrast whatever the lyricist is doing. But it's a very Michael McDonald contemporary pop rock, and it just absolutely works. And then La Haina is kind of a low-key country funk number to end the album. Really, really strong album. Michael sounds great. The band sounds great. It sounds like classic Doobies. That is my number one for this era. If I were to rank these with all the others, I'm just going to put up the complete list because these 7 are literally just going at the bottom of that 70s list. But that's what it looks like. Just tacking this list on the bottom. I think that's where it belongs. But I do think the most recent album, Walk This Road, it might climb some spots because I think I might listen to it again. It's just comforting music. I like the Michael McDonald cheesiness of the pop stuff. It's really good. This was a surprisingly good album. And I think this is a band who knows who they are. They know their identity. They're not trying to be anything else. And if you like them, you're going to like this stuff. If you don't like them, you don't like them. Whatever. They don't care. The people who do like them should be really, really happy with this album because this is a fantastic Walk This Road, their most recent. Fantastic. All right. That's all I got for the Doobies, for their studio albums. Let me know your thoughts on this, things I might have missed or messed up on, differences of opinion, all that stuff. You people know how the internet works, I'm sure. That's all I got. I appreciate you watching. Thanks. And subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things, and talk to you later. Peace.